Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I'm your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, 31 Days of Horror, Volume 8, Day 4, coming at you live and direct. And yes, we are going to go back to the USA from a film that was released by Scream Team Releasing, and I've covered a ton of the films on, this series in the past and also on other review series and stuff like that. I've just done a lot of these over the years, and that comes kind of into play with this because as I was watching this film, I noticed that a lot of the cast members in this movie are actually in a lot of the other Scream Team Releasing films, like The Barn and Barn 2 and 1031 Part 1 and 2, and just so on and so on. There's lots of films that this cast has been spread out, so there's obviously a connection there and stuff. But anyways, I digress. Without further ado, a film from 2020 called Forced to Fear. Now, this one sounded really cool. I wasn't really 100% sure if this one was going to be like straight on the horror tip, which, a little bit of a disclaimer. It's not really. It definitely has a lot of horror elements to it, but it's definitely a genre bender. It's got a genre mashup kind of thing. But anyways, let's get into the premise of this one. Short little synopsis. Basically, the film starts out with these two guys that have just kidnapped this dude who apparently has been accused of fucking one of the kidnapper's wives. And so they've got him housed up in this abandoned school, or I think it's an abandoned school. I think that's what they call it. It doesn't matter. They're in an abandoned place or whatever. And they're basically just torturing the shit out of this guy. They're fucking with him, and they're just trying to do as much as they can to him before they kill him, basically. Anyways, in steps a group of college students, and they get into the school too, and they start doing their own thing. They're partying up, they're drinking, having a blast, and doing their thing and stuff like that. And basically what happens is they don't, the kidnappers and these people, they don't know that they're there, and then the kidnappers realize that they're there, and so they start to go investigate. But then what happens is a random killer shows up who's dressed in this straight up SWAT team gear and stuff. Actually, the killer looks pretty badass in this film, to be honest. He steps in, and then people start getting taken out one by one, and everybody clashes, and it goes crazy. And that's all I'll say about the film right there. So that is the premise of the film. Now, my thoughts on this one. First off, this movie has a fantastic score. I love 80s synth scores, and this one has a really fucking good one, man. It starts right in the, if you could hear the music on the menu right now, that's what you're getting in the film, but of course it's the volume's down. But yeah, really, really good score. But right off the bat, I thought it was kind of an interesting premise. I was like, where is this going to go? The first 10 minutes, I was like, okay, this is it is what it is. But then you get a couple twists right off the bat. We get a twist with some characters, and you get a twist with another character. And I was like, oh, shit. So that's kind of cool. So it kind of spruced that up. That's why I was a little bit vague on the synopsis, because there is things that happen in the first 10, 15 minutes that, ultimately are twists. So I don't want to give them away. But yeah, this one goes a little bit crazy. And like I said, it's a genre. It's like a genre mashup, man. It really does have the horror elements. It has the slasher element of this dude going around killing people one by one. And so there's some pretty decent deaths. I thought the effects are pretty cool. The blood looks good and stuff like that. But what really sells this film actually is more of the action / kind of fight sequences. There's a really good third act in this film where there's a fight sequence between 2 or 3 people that goes on for 20-25 minutes. And I think the runtime in this one before the credits roll is only 72 or 73 minutes. So the third act is pretty high octane, but the fight scene I thought was really, really great in this film because the actors, they did all their own stunts. There's no stunt people. You can tell that they put a lot of work into these scenes and stuff. Shot really well. I thought it was really well done. Acted well for the most part. I thought there was one character in this film, which I won't give away. I thought he was pretty annoying. I thought he was pretty obnoxious to the point where, I don't know, I just felt like he was a bitch baby, man. I don't know, he was bugging me because there was so many badass characters. Our lead character here, who's played by, what's her name? She's also from 1031. Sable Gradell. She's awesome, man. She's so hot in this too. If you could move my ugly ass mug, she's the one right beside my face. She looks awesome, but she's super fucking badass in this movie, totally badass. And in fact, most of the characters are. This one's actually directed by Chad Bruns, who's in a bunch of Scream Team Releasing films, like I mentioned. I think this is his directorial debut. He actually wrote and directed this film with Zane Hirschberger. Yeah. Guys that have all been incorporated into all the other Scream Team releasing films and stuff like that. But I thought he did a pretty good job. He actually stars in the film too. His character kind of pisses me off a little bit in it, but it is what it is. You need that type of character, I guess, to have a nice little balance. But again, there's a lot of things in this film I can't disclose because I'll be giving away spoilers, and I want people to check this out. I thought this is really cool. But if you're into, like, I wouldn't say 80s throwback films. It just has that 80s synth score in the film. It's not done like Grindhouse or whatever. It's done in modern times. I mean, a lot of the characters look like they could be straight from the 80s, but I don't think it's actually supposed to be set in the 80s. They don't give you an actual timeline. It's all set in one location within a building and on top of a building kind of thing. So I believe it's set in modern times. It just has that 80s aesthetic to it, which is really cool. But I thought the twists and turns were pretty cool. I mean, there is definitely some plot holes within the film, but I think if you're going to watch a movie like this, you're there for the slasher elements, the blood, the gore, the kills, and also the fucking awesome fight sequences, man. I thought there was a lot of really cool things that were happening in this film, and kept me intrigued right to the end. And actually, in fact, I wanted a little bit more. Now, with that said, I personally didn't like the way they wrote the ending. I thought the whole thing was super badass and stuff, but the way, ultimately, how they resolved this film, I didn't really like it. And once you watch this movie, you will probably appreciate where I'm coming from, or you might not. You don't have to agree with me, but I truly believe that it should have went a different way. That's just me. I'm not going to knock it for what it did. I'm going to, give my review and my thoughts on what was here, but I would have liked to have seen it go a different way, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah, so overall, I was looking on the back of this thing too, man. It won a ton of awards at like indie, film awards, and first I noticed that it won for best score a couple times. I'm like, oh yeah, the score is fucking badass in this. I'm actually not even sure who did the music for this. I'm sure he's probably by Matt Cannon. Now that name probably associated with Scream Team. I'm assuming, but a million names. But yeah, not much more else to say about this one. It looks great, man. Like, honestly, this movie looks super good on Blu-ray. Like, there's some moments in where I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like, they must have, I wonder if they shot this in 4K and it's just downgraded to 1080p. I have no idea, but it looks really damn good. Solid film. Not perfect by any means, narrative-wise and stuff. I mean, there's definitely some things that could be filled in. And in fact, like, the whole thing with the kidnappers and that whole part of the narrative is like, I don't know. It's not done very well. Again, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to give away spoilers. But anyways, I digress. Very, very fun film. I had a really good time with this. Like I said, it only runs just over 70 minutes. There's a bunch of credits and stuff like that. I thought there actually is a scene within the credits too. It's okay. But yeah. Forced to Fear, I'm coming in at a solid 7.5 out of 10 on this one. Definitely check it out. If you're a fan of Scream Team releasing films, which, some of the ones I mentioned, like the Barn 2, 1031, 1 and 2. There's one, she was also in Cryptids. I've never seen that one, actually. I think that's one of the newer ones. But the list goes on and on and on. I mean, I know The Sleeper is re-released through them and stuff like that. There's tons of films. But it's like an indie releasing label that I've always really enjoyed. And I've tried to support them and review as many of the films as I can on this 31 Days and other outlets, like I mentioned before, because I like to support this type of indie filmmaking, because it's not like $5 movies, which I have no problem with. I mean, I could watch the $5 SOV films, but I feel like these movies, pretty much everything that Scream Team releases is like, you can see the heart in these films, man, and they're done really well for indie films. So give this one a shot. Some fucking badassness right here, man. Forced to Fear. Pretty cool film. Yeah. All right, that's going to conclude day 4 here on the 31 Days of Horror Volume 8. And yes, we'll be back tomorrow with another film. I don't know what the next one is in the list because I don't have my computer open, but I'm sure we're probably going... Actually, it might be another film from the US. I think there might be a couple in here, but we still do have like 15 different countries. It's pretty crazy. So I'm looking forward to these films, and yeah, leave comments down below, and I like to hear from you guys, like the conversation and stuff like that. So if you've seen this film or not, just let me know your thoughts on it or whatnot, and I'll check you guys tomorrow on day 5. And as usual,